What's up, everyone? It's NFL week 14. Cash game show, breaking down NFL cash games. I guess we don't have too many more weeks left. It's the beginning of December, so it's starting to get cold in a lot of the games. Obviously, we'll be targeting dome games a lot more. We'll be looking at all that. We'll be breaking it all down and talking about the slate. I'll bring in Bryce. Bryce, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Got some news earlier. Brees Hall's doubtful, so opens up yet some more value on the slate.
What was the news?
Brees Hall's doubtful.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh gosh. Brees Hall. Yeah, he's been a mess just in general this year, right? We're supposed to. I know it didn't pan out, but we had people saying, "Oh, Brees Hall should be the 1.01," and it turned out the 1.01 was McCaffrey, who was hurt all year, but. It's definitely been a mess of a situation, and Braylon Allen will definitely be a good option at 5K. We'll break it all down. I'm sure there's other news that we'll be waiting on and that'll be breaking. Obviously, we have the 49ers stuff, which I believe, let me check that price tag. I'm curious. We'll obviously dive in shortly, but gosh, I cannot find it. Where are the Niners here? Here it is. Guerrero, who's 5.4K. So that'll be obviously another talking point. We'll have some value. It'll be something to discuss here on this slate. Let's dive in and talk about quarterback. One thing to note, we have Josh Allen in a spot where I would love to grab Josh Allen at 8K. It sounds good to me. I don't know if I'll be able to. It's also been a spend down at quarterback season, right? It has not been a spend up at quarterback season, I'd say, just in general. Sure, we've had weeks where you can make the case to go grab Lamar, go grab a Jaden Daniels, but overall, it's been more of a spend down at quarterback season, including Sam Darnold a little bit last week, even on FanDuel, as crazy as that sounds. I do think it'll be more spend up on FanDuel this week at the quarterback position, but Bryce, talk about what you're doing here with your quarterbacks.
DraftKings, spending down's been the way to go all season. FanDuel, you obviously have more money, and we have some cheap running backs in Guerrero and Braylon Allen here. So I think you can spend on FanDuel. Josh Allen is definitely my preferred spend here. And then if you did want to go mid range, I'd probably go to Darnold. 7.6K is pretty solid for him in the mid range in a dome game here. DraftKings, you can get to Josh Allen. I prefer him to Jalen Hurts here as a spend. I think if you're not playing him, I think you can go mid-tier. Darnold and, I kind of like Kyler here against Seattle. Just the rushing upside here for 6K is pretty solid. And then if you do want to punt the position, I don't hate Levis against a totally dead Jacksonville team. Levis has been putting up some decent box score numbers actually, and this is Jacksonville and Carolina are the two nut spots here. So I just worry about a blowout with Hurts. I don't really worry about that with Levis, which is why I prefer Allen up top. So it's kind of like Allen up top, like Kyler in the mid range for me, and Darnold. You can throw Darnold in there as well, and then Levis cheap, just kind of depending on where your build is.
Yeah, I doubt we'll have to go to Levis, and I understand all the points you brought up, and he has been good. I just don't think we'll need the value, right?
I don't think so as well. Right now, I have Kyler plugged in, full transparency, but that could definitely change by the weekend. So, make sure to like and subscribe to Run Pure Sports, and you get all the plays. Doing a show on a Friday is always a little tough, especially as we get later into the season and more guys start to sit.
Yeah, we have questionable tags on guys that we're waiting on, and teams start to kind of quit without telling us they're quitting. Or they might even rest the guy because they want to save him, right? They're like, we're trying to make the playoffs, or we've already made the playoffs, or something. Sometimes guys play hurt too, they're banged up and they go out there and they're just a decoy and they don't do shit. So
I think that's kind of a good transition to running back. Like Saquon would be the nut running back, but at home against the Panthers, you could easily see them lay off him. In a game they should win by a ton of points. I mean, obviously they need to win, but resting Saquon is pretty paramount as well. So
You're sure about that? I mean, according to JBC, Bryce Young is the next Andrew Luck or the next Peyton Manning.
I don't really see that. How big of favorites are they here? We got what? Sorry, I had all the college stuff pulled up from the previous show. We got
I am curious what the spread is.
13, two touchdown favorites. I mean, Saquon's still a good play, regardless here.
Sure. My argument, and I'm sure you're gonna make the same exact argument, is, and it's the argument every week, is like, and it hasn't been amazing, is Alvin Kamara, right, at 8K. The floor is just really good with like the targets and equity that he gets, and he gets the Giants, and now there's no Taysom Hill. And Alvin Kamara is definitely a very frustrating situation, but I assume he is the chalky spend-up running back. Do you tend to agree?
Yeah, I think it's going to be mega chalk at running back with Garendo and Allen, and then like kind of split between Kamara and Saquon. I prefer Kamara, especially now that we don't have to worry about Taysom. Like he took so much of Kamara's touchdown equity that, it's absolutely massive for Kamara that he's out. So I prefer Kamara to Saquon. Personal choice. But yeah, they're both super strong plays. I think you see a very condensed running back pool between those four this week, with pretty much everyone playing 3 running backs on both sides because of the value that we get here. It's a cash show, so I'm not even going to get into tournament plays. Those are kind of the 4 I'm considering.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks to be like that clear, concise, and simple, but
it's that clear, concise, and simple this week at running back.
Yeah, like the only other thing we could kind of like bullshit about at running back is are there pivots? No, there's no pivots because there's no one at 4, right? Yeah, there's no one at 4 because they're all at 1. So it's like, okay, well, not much to say there. And honestly, just to call this out, the 4 o'clock games, there's only 3, which is not a lot, right? That happens a lot of weeks, but some weeks there's 4, some weeks there's 5, but it's only 3. It's Seattle, Arizona. Actually, no, there is one. It's Garendo. Sorry. So you could pivot off Garendo, who is 5.4K. It's San Francisco and then the Bears. And then there's Bills and Rams. But I'll say this. If you do want to make that pivot, it's going to have to be like a full-on pivot where like you need to have another guy to pivot off of or on. So that's a whole other situation. So if you have Kyler in, like Bryce said, maybe you are able to do that. But again, it's not going to be super easy to make it happen. All right, let's get to receiver. I guess we'll talk about another Niner, Juwan Jennings at 5.2K. If you're going to have a guy in the Brandon Ayuk role at 5.2, I'm just going to play him. His name could be Rubio Dimes, and I would consider it in the Brandon Ayuk role. I think Jennings is a really good play there. I also want to note, I don't think we're spending up at receiver. If you look at the position, A.J. Brown, 8.1K. I doubt I'm spending for him in a game that they're 2 touchdown favorites. Justin Jefferson against Atlanta, 7.8. It's not a spot I need to spend on him. Puka Nacua, 7.7. I definitely don't hate it, but when we talk about, wanting to get Kamara, and I just don't think I need to go up there. And I think it's just a mid-tier week more at receiver. Evans is questionable. Hill, questionable. We're dealing with some tags on those guys. I just don't see myself spending up. I see myself maybe starting with that mid 6K range. Could you make a case for a George Pickens at 6.8? Sure. Could you make the case for Adams or Wilson? Yeah. Drake London sounds great at 6.4. He seems like a really intriguing option. I know DK Metcalf, he was a non-participant on Thursday. If he's out, JSN at 6.3 is a really good option. I know DJ Moore he's questionable. That could open up some opportunities with the Bears receivers. So there's clearly news that we're waiting on, Bryce. That's going to come, through the pipeline. But overall, I think it's more a balanced receiver week. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, with the value, I mean, if you want to go cheaper at quarterback, you can go up to like a Justin Jefferson or a Mike Evans type of guy, who I do like this week. But my favorite play here is Jennings, 5.2K. He's absolutely printed for us this season. I think we've been on him every week pretty much. Purdy just absolutely loves him. He's the alpha receiver in this offense now. Debo's kind of like the gadget-like player. I mean, obviously he's still a great football player, but I think they lean heavily on Jennings. He's getting so many first-look targets. He's my favorite receiver play of the week for the price. After that, I mean, I think the 6K range is pretty solid. Drake London, 6.4K would be my favorite one here. I don't mind Jacoby Myers against a really porous Tampa secondary. We'll get to tight end though, and like really where I want to attack Tampa. It kind of depends like what you do at quarterback. If you're going more mid-tier here, it's easier to spend on quarterback. Like if you want to get a stud, then it's more punt quarterback. So I think that's kind of like the big decision point, because I do think that we're going to have money to spend at tight end this week.
Yeah, quarterback affects some of your decision making for sure, and it can change what you do at receiver, then it can change what you do at tight end a little bit. So I think it's a good point there. And I know you talked about the Raiders and stuff. Obviously, Jacoby Myers, and we need some news. That's going to be super important. I know Keon Coleman, he is questionable for Sunday. I doubt we're going to be moving on to many of those guys, but you just don't know what any of this news is going to do. So it's some just stuff that we are waiting on for this game. One more guy to know, Calvin Ridley at 5'7". I know Tyler Boyd is questionable. If it's just Westbrook Akine and Calvin Ridley, Westbrook has gone up.
I think Ridley Judy's a pretty interesting discussion at 5'7". Even Debo at 5'9".
There's a lot.
Pretty strong mid range here.
That's what I'm saying. Just the mid range is so many options that you can go to. So we're clearly going to look at it. We're clearly going to like it and want to see it. One more guy I didn't mention, that if we do have Metcalf out, Tyler Lockett's 4.3. Like, it's really cheap for him in this spot. All right, let's get the tight end. If you got the money for Brock Bowers, 6'5", I say it every week, he's a good play, right? Trey McBride, 6'1". I don't think he's a terrible option. I did see a good thing on Twitter. It was Trey McBride has like 73 catches on the season and 0 touchdowns, and Josh Allen has 0 catches and 1 receiving touchdown, right? So it's pretty ridiculous. Trey McBride is due, as the people say. It's 6.1K. He's had a solid season. I mean, not a solid, but he's been decent. So if you have the money to spend up, those guys are in play. You can make the case for Kittle if you want to. Talk about Jonnu Smith, especially if Tyreek Hill somehow missed, right? That would be really intriguing at 5.3K. David Njoku, 5'1". He's another guy you can make a case for in this matchup against Pittsburgh. There's clearly plays to like. I haven't even gotten to some of the other piece of news, like if Kincaid misses, I feel like Knox always just kind of enters the conversation. We don't know he's playing, but he enters the conversation at 3.9K. No Taysom Hill. What's that going to do for Juwan Johnson at 3.4K? He was a limited participant. Let's say Juwan Johnson misses. What does that do for Foster Moreau at 3.1? I know he was a limited participant, but clearly stuff could open up. It's a spot where you can go a lot of different ways, Bryce. Sounds like you have a pretty good pulse on what you want to do here, or what you're thinking of doing based on how some of the news hits, but what are you doing at tight end?
Brock Bowers. Yes, absolutely elite prop. It's like 7 for 70.
Yeah, that's really good.
I prefer him to pretty much any of these mid-range receivers. And
do you have his props up in front of you?
Yeah.
What is his touchdown equity? Do we have that up yet or not?
Plus 170 on Penny. So
that's really good for a tight end for what it's worth.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of think it's Bowers and then move on. We got plenty of value that we gave out. I'm just kind of plugging in Bowers. Yeah, I mean, if some of these cheap tight ends open up, I don't think you need to go 2 tight ends this week. I think it's three running backs, with the running back value. Yeah, and then like, is that game's early, right?
No, the Raider game, yeah, that one's
that game's early. If you say you're playing Kyler and you want some more upside, like I think McBride is totally fine. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. I just don't have room for 2 tight ends this week, and it's Bowers for me.
Yeah, Bowers is definitely a good play, and of course, if news could hit, that could change some stuff up. I know Dallas Goedert did not practice on Friday. I guess you could do Calcaterra at 3.5, but it just feels like the wrong week to do something like that.
I agree. With the cheap running backs, I think you just nut up and take one of these expensive tight ends. I prefer Bowers. I would be fine with Njoku. I would be fine with McBride. Kelsey is also an option on FanDuel. He's 6'8". Where Bowers is all the way up to 8K. Bowers is a much harder click there than on DraftKings.
Yeah, and I will call this out. Mike Evans made practice today. He did not practice the past 2 days. If Mike Evans somehow had a weird setback, like Kate Otten at 4-4 would definitely be in the conversation.
100%.
But we don't have that news, and it's just more so just calling it out. Monitor it, figure it out. If you have questions, that's why you subscribe to our Pure Sports. You ask us in the Discord. We'll obviously make adjustments to everything. Let's get the defense. And I think defense matters a little bit more this time of year. I always talk about how we got teams quitting. We got these garbage quarterbacks. We have salary a little bit more this week. You can make that argument for sure. You also have Jameis Winston not on a primetime slate, and we know he's going up against the Steelers defense, and they're pretty good. Yes, they'll give up points, but they'll get turnovers. 3.5K for the Steelers. They're definitely not a bad play. Bryce, any interest in defense or anything important to note, I should say?
Just that, you're going to have more money than usual this week, so I think spending up is a little more viable. I prefer the Eagles to the Steelers slightly, 13-point favorites as opposed to what's the Steelers line? They're only 7-point favorites. I'm just going to take the 2-touchdown favorite. Even if it's Jameis, it's not like Bryce Young is any good. JBC, and I can argue that all we want. Mid-range, I kind of like the Saints. Playing the Giants, aggressive defense, I think they're a pretty solid option. And then if you wanted to punt, I know I talked up Levis a bit, but I don't mind the Jaguars. Levis still makes a ton of mistakes, and is turnover prone. So they would be like my cheap option, but I would much prefer to get the money to go up to like a Saints style defense, or even the Titans, than pay down this week. I just think you have the money.
Yeah, well, as we saw with Jameis Winston on Monday Night Football, you can throw 2 pick sixes and you can still throw for 460 yards. It's actually probably better. Like if my quarterback throws a pick six, I want it to be at the start of the game, so he's trailing. Just get it out the way. I don't hate it if I see a pick six from my quarterback to kick off the slate, I go, oh, we're trailing now, and we're going to be getting after it. So Will Levis isn't that crazy for sure. But I doubt we're going that way. I'm sure we're spending up. We got a ton of value to work with. All right. That's going to wrap it up for us. We don't got too much else to say. Got it done pretty quick. But again, it's a week where there's just like clear values and there's not much you can do about it. So.
Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. You're going to have to nail these 3v3s. We'll be in the Discord helping out, giving out cores, rankings, everything. That's where the money is made. So make sure to get in and subscribe.
All right. That'll do it for us. Thanks a lot for joining for me, Mingo, and Bryce. See you guys later.